Hello and welcome to the Belmont Journal, your source for local Belmont news and community updates. I'm Mike Crowley, your host this week. The Board of Selectmen is seeking a Belmont resident to serve on the high school traffic working group. Applications need to be submitted by 6 p.m. on May 6th. For more information, you can go to the town website. Representatives Ayanna Presley and Catherine Clark introduced the Be Heard in the Workplace Act at a press conference at the Casa Myrna in Boston on April 23rd. Be Heard stands for bringing an end to harassment by enhancing accountability and rejecting discrimination. The bill is intended to strengthen federal laws governing workplace sexual harassment and assault.
Earlier this month, along with Senator Patty Murray, I introduced the Be Heard Act. This will be the first comprehensive bill to address workplace assault and harassment. Frankly, this bill's been a long time coming and is way overdue. From Hollywood to Congress, from restaurants to farm workers, to women and men in every type of workplace who have seen harassment and discrimination ignored for too long. Last year, the Me Too movement pulled back the curtain. Empowered by the bravery of survivors, issues that used to live in the shadows came to light. And while the conversation started with celebrities, the voices of survivors have echoed in every single industry and workplace across every single state. According to the EEOC, there are some sobering statistics. At least 25% of women experience sexual harassment at their workplace. 75% of women who experience harassment are retaliated against when they report it. And somewhere close to 90% of employees who experience harassment do not file a formal complaint. We say no more. No more silence, no more acceptance, no more complicity. The Be Heard Act puts the dignity of workers ahead of the rights of perpetrators and sends a simple, clear message. No matter your race, income, or job, you have a right to be safe at your job. Our bill will work to make workplaces safer by prohibiting mandatory arbitration and pre-dispute non-disclosure agreements, by extending the statute of limitations for harassment claims, by eliminating the difference in the minimum wage between tipped and hourly workers, and requiring workplaces to create harassment prevention strategies. We are building on the courage of the people who have come forward by putting long overdue protections and accountability into the law. Everyone deserves to know that the law stands behind them and that dignity and respect in the workplace are rights, not privileges.
And I'm very honored to lend my voice in solidarity with this incredible coalition of advocates to talk about and more formally roll out our Be Heard Act. And that really is what it's about. It's about our raising our collective voices to amplify the lived experiences and the stories and the struggles and the hurt of survivors. I'm very grateful for the elevated consciousness and the renewed commitment to workplace harassment and discrimination based upon the Me Too movement and Time's Up. But we wanted to put forward something that would be sweeping and inclusive, and it would address every worker from Hollywood to Congress to those workers that are too often rendered invisible and that are unseen in their hurt.
You can watch the entire press conference on Belmont Media Center's website, our Facebook page, and on our YouTube channel. Welcome to This Week in the Belmontonian with Franklin Tucker, editor of the Belmontonian. So, Franklin, we have a new name for the new school building.
The new school will be called Belmont Middle and High School. decided by the school committee.
That's right.
But right now we're going through a very interesting process, something that usually doesn't cause any controversy at all. It's called value engineering.
And who's going through this? This is
The building committee that is looking over the new building. Like I said before, it's part of a process that is very normal with any kind of project of this size and magnitude. It basically what it's doing is it's looking at it looks at 3 different evaluations that are done by the contractor, the engineer, and the architect. And what they do then is they it's basically a wish list, and it usually goes over budget, and then they have to cut.
So just very quickly, I think what I understand was that, you know, after the project was put out for sort of more fuller design estimates, it came in some $25 to $30 million over.
Well, it's over only in the if you're looking at value value engineering. So basically, what they did for the last for 3 meetings, for the last 2 meetings, I should say, is that the building committee went through line item after line item of the bigger and more let's say parts of the project that they could cut.
Okay.
You know, and then they made a value of each of those line items, 1, 2, or 3, deciding whether it's going to be cut or not going to be cut.
Right now, and some of those items have been sort of whittled back, but there was a great controversy and a lot of sort of public outpouring of support over the issue of solar panels.
That's right. Solar panels are, if you're trying to cut, let's say $25 million, $3 million is with the solar panels.
It's a big item.
That's right. And what many people were saying, especially the people in the process, is that solar is going to be there. It's not going to be cut out of the process. What they were saying is, let's not buy it up front with money that we can use somewhere else that would help the core mission of the building, but rather do it at the end when you have maybe contingency money. There's $16 million of that, you know, in case something bad happens, money. And they said, let's move it back to the back of the process. Let's say 5 years from now, because number one, solar is going down in terms of expense, and the solar panels themselves. Yeah. So let's get better value by waiting. What happened is that the community heard about this. A lot of activists came, student activists, and they basically said, we don't have that much of a trust what you're trying to do.
We're looking for a stronger commitment to the zero net energy status of this building.
That's right.
And I think the fear was that if there isn't this upfront commitment to solar in the project budget, that it may never happen.
But then again, you do have to look at how that process goes forward and think that, what are you now cutting? What core, like I said, what core, what in the core mission are you cutting? Is the theater going to be smaller? Are you going to have different types of engineering throughout the building?
So that process is continuing, I think, for at least one more meeting, and
That's
they
right.
have about $3 million left to trim. Moving on very quickly, Community Path, we have an update.
That's right. We thought it was going to go on the south side of the commuter tracks from the Alexander, what will become the Alexander Avenue underpass to Brighton Street. Turns out that negotiations with the Tosi family for the Pure Coat site, just taking a small portion or the building itself, it just didn't go through. The family decided that it wasn't in their interest. That the Board of Selectmen said, we don't want to go through eminent domain, so they're going to go and do the engineering study on the north side.
All right. So that's a big decision on Community Path. And thank you so much, Franklin. We'll talk with you next time.
Thank you.
Welcome to This Week in the Citizen Herald, and welcome back, Joanna Juvelis, Senior Multimedia Journalist with the Citizen Herald and Wicked Local Belmont.
Thank you.
Hello, Joanna. So let's talk about the town administrator's raise.
Yes, so Town Administrator Patrice Garvin, she's been with the town for a year now, as of January 15th. And they had her one-year performance review earlier in the month. She met or exceeded most of the all the expectations and goals. She had a raving review.
So the Board of Selectmen are extremely happy with our town administrator.
No doubt about that. And on April 22nd, at their selectmen meeting, they ratified her contract. Her contract expires in January 2021, but
Okay.
part of the contract is every year she'll have a review, and based on that review, she'll get a raise or not. She got a 2% merit increase retroactive to July of 2018.
Wow.
July 2018, as well as a 2% cost of living increase, also retroactive to July of 2018. And then starting July of 2019, she got a 2% merit increase and then another 2% cost of living increase. In addition, Mike, her car allowance as of July 1st, 2019 is going up from $2,400 to $7,500. That's $200 a month to $625 a month.
Okay.
This brings her salary, which started out at $170 to $189 as of July 1st. And you can read all about it in the Belmont Citizen Herald and on Local Belmont.
Well, I'll just say this really quickly. I think for people who have had dealings with Patrice Garvin, that they will understand that this town administrator is worth the money.
Also worth noting, Jessica Porter, the Director of Human Resources, presented the data of comparing town manager and town administrator salaries in 14 surrounding communities.
Okay.
And the average is it's about $206,000. So based on that, she's making less than the average
Okay.
of surrounding communities.
Well, I'm sure that if she stays with us a bit longer, we'll see that improve.
Yes.
So let's talk about the DPW and building projects in town meeting, which is
Special town meeting, May 1st,
Right.
is coming up. And on the warrant for that is an article that comes from the Police and DPW Building Committee. As you know, they're going to be renovating it in June, starting in June, hopefully.
Right.
They're going to add on to the police station, and they're also going to add on to the Public Works building. However, since they were approved last spring, the project has changed slightly. The police staff is going to move temporarily to the water department site, and they're going to be renting trailers for that.
Okay.
That's about $500,000 additional expenses that they didn't know about.
okay.
But because they're going to be out of the building, the committee thinks it would be a good time to do the interior renovations that really need to be done.
Now that wasn't planned originally as part of
It
the
was
project, but as they got deeper into this,
Right.
they decided that it just didn't make
Yes.
sense to do the renovations and leave the old electrical and
Exactly.
heating cooling system.
And we don't have an exact number of what that is going to cost. They will know, I believe, April 30th. We will know more about that, and it will definitely be presented at the special town meeting. It could be around $3 million.
Okay.
But that is just a placeholder figure. It is not an exact amount yet.
All right.
But it could be $3.5 million more that they need to borrow for the project, and that town meeting will have to approve.
All right. Well, we'll see you next week. And thank you so much, Joanna. And
You're welcome.
We'll talk with you again soon. The arts and crafts store Pine Cones and Needles on Trapello Road is now operated by 3 Belmont residents. One of these residents, Carlene Loveday, explains how they want their store to be actively engaged in the community. Our story is reported by David Webster, Belmont Journal volunteer.
I'm Carlene Loveday, one of 3 partners who bought this business last fall. My partners are Anita Aguilar, who's a Belmont resident, and Jenna Rounds, who's a Watertown resident, as am I. And we are at Pine Cones and Needles on Trapello Road, and over my shoulder, an adult beginner knitting class is taking place. When the prior owner made a move to another state and closed the business, we realized we didn't want to see this resource go away, and that was what prompted us to get involved and spend some of the summer speaking with the prior owner to buy out the business and run it pretty much with the same spirit and mission as had been here before. So it's a combination of toys and crafts, kids and adults. We do drop-in crafting, we do class series and workshops. And it's very homey in a way that I think a lot of us might remember from childhood or a grandparent's house. And even if kids aren't necessarily going to grow up to be knitters, it's nice to have those sort of quiet skills that take some patience and a slow skill acquisition. It was really intended to be a place that you could come and hang out. And that's a feeling that we wanted to carry over from the first ownership. We have crafts that are available all the time. Simple things like painting or just a sheet of paper with watercolor to more complicated things like model kits. We've had a lot of adults ask too, so we have a number of classes, about as many adult classes as kids. And NADA has in particular a really strong volunteer drive. The project that we have going on right now is little knitted squares or crocheted squares to be assembled into a blanket to give to an organization that works with children in need. And that's our window display right now, right behind you actually. It's something that people have chipped away at. Some people can finish a whole square while they're sitting here and their kids are working away, and some people have done a half and someone else has come in to finish it. So it's nice to be able to see the store and the community work together on something that is so important too. But what we really love is that parent feedback about this being a place that's sort of a place you can come in and take a deep breath. And whether they're here to buy product or learn a craft or do something with their kids and their friends or have a birthday party, we really value the feedback that it's a calm place to be.
The Belmont Dramatic Club presents Hot Mikado, its 263rd production this month. If that sounds like a lot of productions, they've been around since 1903. Joanna Jubilis recently met with the show's two co-producers who give us some more background about the production.
The Belmont Dramatic Club is putting on Hot Mikado. It is April 27th and 28th and May 4th and 5th here at the Payson Park Church.
It's based on Gilbert and Sullivan's The Mikado, a very similar story. The music has just been jazzed up to like a 1940s blues jazz style.
It's a love story. It's a nonsensical love story. There is a Lord High Executioner who was supposed to marry this charming little girl called Yum Yum. And in wanders this minstrel. Unbeknownst to everybody, he's the son of the emperor. But he has run away because he does not want to marry Katisha, the woman picked for him, who's tough.
And older.
And so the Lord High Executioner gets a letter from the emperor saying, you haven't executed anybody, so you have to do that. And of course, then there's a whole thing about that and silliness and whatever.
What he said is true. He's meant to marry you. Here's a pretty state of things. Here's a pretty how to do. Here's a pretty state of things. Here's a how to do. Here's a how to do. Here's a how to do. For if what I say is true, he cannot marry you. Here's a pretty Here's a pretty madness. Here's a how
It's funny, it's very musical, it has great dancing.
We keep it up all day long. We watch it sing along.
And now it's time for our community calendar with Jane Peters. She has all of the updates for you about what's happening in Belmont this week.
Hi everyone, I'm Jane and this is your community calendar for next week. Mud season is that wonderfully squishy time of year between winter and spring when melting snow and spring rains make mountains and molehills out of marvelous mud. Habitat's Tuesday program takes place from 10 to 11 a.m. and is suitable for children up to age 5. Habitat needs your help finding the muddiest spots, so be sure to wear your boots. Register at massaudubon.org. The Beach Street Center hosts the first in a 4-part lecture series discussing various nutrition topics for seniors and new innovations in nutrition on Tuesday at 1:15. Dr. Barbara Shukit-Hale will present Food for Thought at the center to kick off the series. RSVP at the front desk to reserve your spot. The Belmont After School Enrichment Collaborative presents the final talk of their parent lecture series on Wednesday at 6:30 in the Chenery Auditorium. The talk features Dr. Khalees Warnham on the topic of how to talk to kids about race, culture, and racism. This lecture provides concrete tips on how to speak to children about cultural differences and how we can all learn to address racism and microaggression. Parents of Music Students presents an evening at the Pops at BHS on Friday and Saturday evening. Friday night's concert features the BHS Concert Orchestra, Concert Chorale, Symphonic Band, and Jazz Ensemble. Saturday's concert showcases the combined singers and jazz choir, chamber orchestra, wind ensemble, and BHS combo. For tickets, visit the Belmont Palms website. Habitat presents its 7th annual Goat Gala on Saturday from 1 to 3. Interact with and learn about Habitat's friendly herd of Nigerian dwarf goats, play games, and sample some goat-related products. The Goat Gala will show you how the goats help out Habitat and how you can help out the goats. Sign up is not required. Learn more at massaudubon.org. Step right up, join Ringmaster Duncan, the daring trapeze artists Macbeth and Lady Macbeth, and more under a big top full of magic and mystery on Saturday at 2 at the library. The Boston Theater Company's teen touring troupe features actors in grades 8 through 12, including 3 Belmont High School students. This performance is recommended for ages 8 and up. Reach for the stars at Belmont Books May Story Slam on Saturday from 6 to 9 p.m. Participants are asked to keep their stories to 5 minutes. A happy hour with craft beer cellar begins at 6, with doors opening to the slam at 6:45. Purchase your tickets or register as a storyteller online or in-store. Third-generation silhouette artist Eric Johnson is visiting Growing Up Children's Resale Boutique on Sunday. Johnson creates hand-cut original silhouettes simply by looking at a person's profile and cutting with surgical scissors on black craft paper. These treasured keepsakes only take a few minutes to create. You can learn more and sign up by visiting Eventbrite. The Becca Peasy 5K Road Race celebrates Becca as a 2-time World Marathon Challenge champion. 2019's race takes place on Sunday. The kids' 1-mile race kicks off at 9 a.m. with the 5K race starting at 9:30. You can register and join the fun by visiting beccapeasy5k.racewire.com. Bib pickup is on Saturday from 10 to 1 at Fitness Together. And that's all for next week. If you'd like your event featured in Belmont Journal's community calendar, feel free to email your event info to jane@belmontmedia.org.
The Kindness Rocks project encourages you to find inspiration in your life with messages painted on stones. Stones, you ask? Elena Rossi Pellegrino, an ambassador for the Kindness Rocks project, brought the project to the Beach Street Center last week, where seniors painted inspiring messages on stones to be distributed around town. We spoke with Elena about the project and how it looks to impact our community for the better.
So I'm Elena Rossi Pellegrino. I'm one of the ambassadors for the Kindness Rocks project. The woman that started, her name is Megan Murphy. She started the project a couple years ago, and I'm just one of the representatives that started my community. I was walking along the beach one day, and I saw this little area, and it says the Kindness Rocks project, and it's just basically all these colored rocks with different, kind of inspirational, positive messages. And I was like, this is cool. And then on the back, it had the hashtag, the Kindness Rocks project. So of course I looked it up, and I was like, wow, there's this whole movement and, different, little spots around the world. Megan Murphy, the woman that started it, she was just walking along this beach, and she walks along all down the Cape, and she would look for messages through the rocks. Her parents had passed away, so she kind of thought sea glass was one parent and her heart-shaped rock was another parent. So she was kind of like, this is kind of neat to have messages, you kind of look for the universe. So then Another day, she said, you know, what if I write on one of these rocks? And so she wrote on like 5 rocks. And it so happened that a friend of hers found one of the rocks and contacted her and said how good it made her feel. So then she's like, this is something here. So she just kind of had this going on. So it's just kind of spiraled out into a really beautiful project. You can take one if you need some inspiration. You can leave one for someone. So it's, you know, just kind of a fun thing to do. I mean, some communities have like an actual little area, like a rock garden. But yeah, usually like, you know, you might just be grocery shopping and find one on the ground, you know, so it's just kind of neat to kind of find them. I'm actually a therapist for a living. So, you know, part of what I do for a living is, you know, kind of help people maybe change the way they think and, you know, have an attitude of gratitude and such. So I guess it doesn't hurt to just sort of add more kindness. You know, sometimes when you do something nice, it makes you feel good. There's so much negativity. It's just nice to have something positive, I guess. There's more information on Kindness Rocks Project website, and there's even like lots of Instagram and Facebook pages, so you can kind of follow along and be part of it. So if you find a rock, you know, let us know, and if you want to get involved, you know, let us know too. It'd be great. The more the merrier.
We end our program with a programming update for your Belmont Media Center channels. Be sure to watch. That's all for now. I'm Mike Crowley. This is the Belmont Journal, and we'll see you next time.